Welcome to my channel, beautiful students. If you're coming across my video for the very first time, kindly subscribe, like, share and comment. So this is the part 2 of how to make this beautiful kimono jacket with the lapel. So we're going to do a notch lapel, and this is the part 2. So to get your armhole depth, you divide your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 or plus 1. So I made plus 1, and that is why I note that place as my chest point. So the same back measurement, which is just shoulder to shoulder, we are going to measure it on your chest point, and you draw a straight line from your shoulder slope. So for the neck, this is the back piece. So for the neck width, we are making use of 3 inches, and from that 3 inches you're going to draw a straight line to meet the shoulder slope. Like I said, this is the back piece, and for our neck depth for this, I'm going to be using 1.5. You can decide to use 1, you can decide to use 2, but I'm using 1.5 before because I don't want the collar to be too high. As you can see in the picture, the collar is not too high. So if you use 1, the collar will be high, you know, the normal blazer, your high collar normal blazer. But this one I want to use 1.5. So after measuring your shoulder and your neck depth and your neck width, you're going to use your cuff to draw a straight a cuff line to the neck. So this is the back piece. So to measure to do your armhole, you're going to divide your chest line, your armhole depth, divided by 2 for the back, and then for the final cuff at the down part, you measure your bust measurements. After marking it, that is how you're going to finish up with your cuff for the down. So the next thing now, you're going to do your back contour. You're going to do your back contour. So for this, we don't want it to, you know, it's not a fitted gown, it's not a fitted wear whereby you have to make your contour to deep. So this one is just a blazer, but you know, to have a little shape at the back there. So I'm going to go in by ½ inch. Do you understand? You're going in by ½ inch, and then you connect a straight line to meet the ½ inch to your chest point, and then you draw a straight line to meet from your ½ inch back contour to meet your hip measurement. So the next thing here is to do our dart. Mind you, when you are doing your dart, don't start from the 0.5 back contour. You start from the normal measurement, from the starting point generally. So you measure so I'm going to, for my bust pan, we have 8 divided by 2, we have 4. So I'm going to draw a straight line here from the bust point to the hip line, and then to the hem line. So for your dart width, I'm going to, you go to the waist, and then you measure half is okay. You want, so this is a blazer, no, we don't need too much contour or too much dart intake. So you join a straight line, the half straight line at both sides, you join it to the bust point, and then you join it to the waist, to the hip point too. And that is what you're doing here. So if you're coming across my video for the very first time, kindly share, subscribe, like and comment, and go through our channel and see more of our tutorials. So the next thing now is you go to the chest point and the bust point, you measure your bust point to that side, add ease allowance. So I added 1 inches, half for ease allowance and half for seam allowance. So to the waist area, you can decide to measure it and remove the dart, you understand, and remove the back contour, then you finish up your measurement. or you measure from the starting point, from the center back. From the center back. After taking your measurement, you had your dart allowance, what you have in your dart allowance, because you're going to be taking it off, so you had it, and then your back contour too, you had it. You understand? So you come to the hip line, you measure your hip, you had your ease allowance, you had your seam allowance. You can decide to add 1 inch for your seam allowance, for your ease allowance, and then add ½ inch. But for me, I don't want it to be too big. You understand? So anything you have there, you had your ease and your seam allowance, and then any measurement you have on your hip line, that is exactly what you're going to put on your hem line. Then you use your straight ruler to connect the points all together. If you notice, you'll see that at that side it looks like it doesn't have shape. Do you understand? It is because you still remove the dart in between. The moment you remove the dart in between, it will shift. You understand? Then it will have shape like that. So we are done with that. So the next thing now is to cut out the shoulder, the armhole, and then the side and the hemline. So I'm going to tell you the next step now. Now we're going to remove our darts, and before you remove your darts, you can't just change your dart like that, so you have to make a shoulder dart, and then you divide your shoulder width. The remaining shoulder width you divide into 2, and then the midpoint for the shoulder, you connect it to the chest line. So now the next thing you're going to do is to cut out our back contour, and then you cut out the dart. Mind you, for this you can decide to explore with this. You can decide to explore with this. So for my own, this is the back piece. After cutting, I'm going to use the center back as my ankara for lining. You're going to cut everything as your fabric, and then for lining. But for me, I want to make it in another way. I don't want to do a usual. This is a ready. I'm making this this size for a ready to wear brand outside the country. So I want it to meet a standard. So for the center back, for my lining for the center back, I'm going to use that as my fabric, and then the side back, I'm going to use it as lining. When I want to cut the lining, I'm going to use my center back as fabric, as lining. I'm going to use it as fabric to make lining, and then the other side as lining. So I'm going to show you the finished product of this at the end of the day. Bye.